Hello, I'm Ken Samples, and I'm joined by Dr. John Bloom today. John, you are a professor of physics at Biola. You also founded and lead the Science and Religion program there. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about a field you've done a lot of thinking and studying about, and that is the Bible and its relationship to archaeology. Obviously, we view those events in the Old Testament as historical and factual. What are some of the challenges between the Bible and archaeology, and what do you see as maybe one area that would be very supportive?
Okay, well, the challenges are, of course, just recovering artifacts to begin with.
Yeah.
What survived the initial destructions and the decay and so on. So there's, again, not much that's left. Then do we happen to find it?
Right.
And then the second side to that is, okay, we discover something that's incredible, and then how do you interpret it?
Okay.
This is the other issue that gets really interesting as well. And just an example of a really kind of cool recent find. It's in Lachish, or Lachish in Hebrew. It's an ancient city in Judah, southern Israel, that most people haven't heard of, but it was, after Jerusalem, it was the biggest city in the southern kingdom in Judah. And it's famous because Sennacherib destroyed it in 701 BC.
Okay.
And put a display in his palace of the destruction of Lachish.
Wow.
That the British recovered in the 1850s or so. But so we knew of the site, we excavated the site, and just back in 2016, they were kind of tidying up the site to make it into a park for visitors.
Yeah.
And they excavated in the gate area there, and they found what they described as a desecrated shrine there in the gate. And the pictures are really fascinating because what they found in the gate, there were rooms, 3 rooms on each side of the gate. Mm-hmm. And in one of these rooms is what looked like a shrine area, a little altar for burning incense or something, but there's a toilet seat in it.
Okay, wow.
And it's like, what in the world is a toilet seat doing in this shrine, right?
Yeah.
And that brought back to mind everyone's recollection of what Jehu did to the temple of Baal in the northern kingdom, where he destroyed the temple and turned it into a latrine. So it's like, oh, okay. So if you have a shrine area that you want to place off limits or desecrate, you put a toilet seat in there or something like that. And so that discovery then, people linked to, it says that Hezekiah abolished the shrines and so on around Judah, sort of centralizing worship there in Jerusalem. And so when they discovered this, it's like, this corroborates what the Bible says Hezekiah did. He desecrated this shrine that was there at Lachish. So again, that's really just an incredible find. That sort of, that little nugget that says, this story in the Bible from a couple perspectives of how do you desecrate a shrine, and then here's one that was, get some confirmation. But the interpretation then is always sort of the fun thing.
Yeah.
The guys published this about 2016 or so, and if you Google Desecrated Shrine at Lachish, you can find the pictures for it. It's really kind of cool to see. But then critical scholars have come along and said, no, this can't be anything like that. There's a whole school of thought that basically tries to distance itself from the Bible as much as possible. So you'll find an artifact, and then how can we understand this in a way that has nothing to do with the biblical text? And so you see a couple of papers out in that regard where the group says, well, yeah, it looks like a toilet seat, but it was actually people poured libations into this opening. You know, libation is a pour offering or a liquid offering. And, you know, I look at it and go, sure looks like a toilet seat to me. You know, what are you doing here? And then another scholar just came out with an article where he says, well, it wasn't a shrine at all. We don't know what it was, but we can't call this thing a shrine. So that's what makes archaeology so fascinating is, one, we recover these things that do give us insight into biblical times and the culture and how people were living and what they were thinking. But then you see these schools of thought that will say, well, let's link that to the Bible. That seems perfectly reasonable to do. And then other schools that are like, oh, no, you know, the shields go up and we just can't do any connections like that.
Well, it seems to me, John, you made a very powerful point, and that is we don't always know if some of the things in the Old Testament have survived. Then if they are discoverable, how are they interpreted? But I thought your point about the kind of secular presuppositions of various scholars, they have starting points of a skeptical nature that just won't allow them to go there, so to speak.
Yeah, that's sort of the sad thing. It's are they really looking at the evidence in a neutral and objective fashion?
Yeah.
Or is there a presupposition there that whatever we find, we just cannot allow that to make a connection to what the Bible says?
Yeah.